Welcome everybody to the F4 Hunger Awareness Show.
It's my goal to feed 1 billion people before I die.
We want to bring awareness around the issue of hunger and food insecurity.
7 to 8 million people served so far, with the sole goal of eradicating world hunger by connecting sources of food to recipients in need. Fiorenza's Food for Friends.
Hi, this is Derek Fiorenza here today on the F4 Hunger Awareness Show. And this is a special episode today just to talk about hunger and food insecurity in America. And what we'll do, since we are in the month of September, is we'll focus on the month of September. September is actually known as Hunger Action Month. And this was set by Feeding America a number of years ago. So I'm going to share my screen here and we're going to go through a few of the data points. Each September, Hunger Action Month unites millions to raise awareness and provide nutritious food to neighbors facing hunger. So think about that. We've talked a lot about our ongoing food drive this month that's in conjunction with the Westchester Chili Cook-Off that F4 is running on October the 12th. And we're going to be collecting food with local businesses this entire month. And the day of our cook-off, we're going to be collecting non-perishable food items to benefit the Westchester Food Cupboard. What is Hunger Action Month? Hunger Action Month is a nationwide movement. It brings people together across the country with the goal of ending hunger in our communities. Feeding America partners with local food banks and volunteers to build a nation where everyone has the food and support they need. So we do a lot of work with organizations that are part of Feeding America. Feeding America is the largest hunger relief advocacy organization in our country. They have basically in every major city a food bank that's united to them and collected to them. We, with our work at F4, connect sources of food to recipients in need, which means what? We identify food donations and food recovery opportunities. That would be food that's being thrown out or discarded. It's perfectly edible. And we find a home for it. And sometimes it might be a Feeding America food bank, or sometimes it might not be. But ultimately, the end user is the hungry individual and recipient that is in need that's going without food. How many people are actually food insecure? Well, let's define food insecurity. Food insecurity is prevalent in 100% of the counties across our country. Food insecurity means you just don't know when you're going to eat again. You don't know where your next meal is coming from. So we try to imagine what that would be like, the anxiety that that would create, and the level of just frustration and agitation that one might feel when they're not able to access food. You know, you go a couple hours and your stomach starts growling. Imagine going in a couple days and no end in sight. That would be scary. That would be very much feeling hopeless. That would very much make you feel like you're not cared about, that you're not important. So one of the things that we try to do with our organization F4 is to not just provide food for the body and the mind, but to provide love and compassion for the soul, and to be there for people so that they know they're appreciated, that they know that they matter, that their struggles and plight does matter. We're here to do what we can to make that struggle a little easier. Okay, so right now there are more than 50 million people, it's close to 50 million people in our country that are facing food insecurity. And here are some interesting facts. Families with kids are more at risk of hunger, actually 1.5 times more likely to face food insecurity issues. Additionally, up to 50%, and we see this in rural communities, the childhood hunger rates can reach up to 50% in some of those rural communities. Now we'll look at a few other data points. I think it's great that we're raising awareness. What can you do to support? Well, you could join us right now. We're doing food drives all over the country to benefit local food banks and food pantries. You can certainly tap into those opportunities. If you know of a restaurant or a caterer that might have excess food, we're able to help them reallocate and repurpose those food items to those that are in need. So there's a lot of opportunities to help out. I think one of the important things to talk about is the causes of hunger. So we talk about food insecurity, we talk about hunger, we all can identify to a certain extent how awful that is. But what causes hunger? Well, number one, where you live does matter. It makes a difference. What do I mean by that? Your ability to get access to public transportation, safe places, schools. If you don't have access to those avenues, it could be more challenging to get access to food. Income. We talk about being employed and being able to provide for yourself and for your family. Well, the ability, even if you're working sometimes, to afford food can be very difficult. What if you have a health ailment? What if you lose a job? What if you're not making enough money? What if you or someone in your family has a disability? Sometimes you can be perfectly accountable and responsible and make really good decisions for yourself and for your family, and things just happen. So in those instances, when things just happen, you might need assistance. There are many people that are in that position where something has happened. Sometimes it's outside of their control. Sometimes it's within their control. It doesn't matter what the reason is that someone is in a position where they need help. The only thing that matters is that the person or people need help. And it's our job as good stewards of the resources that we have here on this earth to do what we can to support those that are most vulnerable and those that are suffering. High costs of living. So depending upon where someone lives, there might be high rent costs, there might be high healthcare costs. Something else we turn our attention to is the ability to, in the wintertime, heat your home or eat. We call it heat or eat. Heat your home or feed your family. The trade-off, because the cost of energy in the winter can be much more expensive. Bills pile up. Well, think about credit card bills. If you have a credit card, you're typically paying interest on that credit card. Once you get into credit card debt, it becomes really difficult to get out of credit card debt. So the interest compounds and you wind up doing your minimum payment and you're never quite able to dig out of that hole. Childcare cost. If you have children, the cost of childcare, it can be extremely burdensome, and being able to afford the cost of childcare can deplete your resources to provide access to rent, healthcare, or food. Um, and what we see a lot of times is that families that are in that position where they do have children in childcare, they do need to get assistance from some of your local food banks and food pantries. In the ecosystem, the food bank at the hierarchy provides food to the food pantries. The food pantries then distribute the food locally at their distribution sites to those in their community. What are some of the barriers? Well, there's all types of barriers. We've already covered some of those with income gaps and also health disparities, communities, access to transportation, education. Also, the ability just to know the difference between which foods are good for your body and which foods are not good for your body. Very simplistically, I'm not a doctor, but understanding, the impact of sugar on your diet and certain foods that you're eating that might not be as nutritiously dense as other foods. What's the long-term impact on someone's body? Does it lead to obesity? Does it lead to diabetes, heart disease, so on and so forth? These health uh, disparities and these health challenges can further impact someone's position and further create a need for assistance. It could be any one of us. And what's neat is there's a bunch of, on the Feeding America website, there's a bunch of videos, YouTube videos, and pictures of different people that, just like you and me, have struggled with food insecurity or hunger at some point, and they've needed assistance from a local food bank or food pantry. We're also going to dive into some of the childhood hunger stats, which I think are pretty eye-opening. So I'm going to list a couple of these stats and then I'll talk through them. Nearly 14 million children face hunger. This was according to a USDA study. It's 1 in 5 children. This study in 2023. So nearly 14 million children don't know where their next meal is coming from. As we mentioned before, families with children are 1.5 times more likely to face food insecurity and hunger issues. We see some discrepancies and disparities in different minority communities having less access to food, and single parent families also contributing to that. 1 in 3 households headed by single moms and 1 in 4 households headed by single dads have experienced some level of food insecurity. So there are many theories and thoughts around the causes of hunger. We've covered a lot of them today. We've reviewed how income and health and different socioeconomic statuses, and areas that you live have an impact. But some of the things that we don't focus enough on are what does lack of food or having access to not healthy food do to somebody, let's say, that's developmentally working through their student? They're trying to go through their academics and study, their ability to concentrate, their ability to perform, their ability to then net a good job when they get out of school, um, how the brain is impacted by the food we eat or don't eat. Those types of things, the studies that are still coming out and being done. There's many effects that are beyond just, I didn't have something to eat today. Obviously, that is first and foremost pressing, feeding and filling that gap. So I wanted to share some of these important causes of hunger today and also share some of the statistics around hunger and food insecurity because September is Hunger Action Month. And with that, I think the main takeaway, if I could sum it all up into one beautiful bow, I would say is we want to focus on being compassionate and loving to one another. Someone doesn't choose a certain life, someone doesn't choose necessarily to be hungry. You could argue, well, someone's hungry because of the choices they've made that have led them to where they're at. Even if that were the case, and it's not always the case, it doesn't mean that they're not deserving of compassion, love, understanding, and hope, because that could easily be you or me that's in that same position where we might need someone's help and assistance. Our job is not to judge. Our job is to contribute. Our job is to love. Our job is to serve. Our job is to identify how we can have the biggest impact on the most amount of people that are in pain and suffering. So with that, this was a special episode today of the F4 Hunger Awareness Show. We have focused our energy today on Hunger Action Month. If you're on social media, please subscribe to our podcast, follow us, like us at F4 Service. That's F4 Service. We're looking to get the word out, spread awareness for hunger and food insecurity in our country, and we're looking for supporters and volunteers. If you're interested in putting together a non-perishable food drive with your business, your organization, your church, please contact us at F4 Service. If you're interested in working together on food recovery, well, if you know that there's a caterer or a pizza shop or a restaurant or a food distributor that has excess food that's not currently donating it, please contact us. That's an area we can help. If you're interested in cooking meals for those that are in need at various shelters, we have various shelters that we partner with that are in need of prepared meals throughout the year, not just during the holiday season. So there are many ways to help. Please subscribe to our show at F4 Service. Follow us on social media for more updates. And please join us. Everybody has a hand in fighting to end hunger and food insecurity. It takes every single one of us doing what we can. And remember, if you help just one person, you've made a difference in that person's life. You've changed the world. Thank you for listening. I'm Derek Fiorenza with the F4 Hunger Awareness Show.